Other than being mentally deranged, do the Democrats have anything to offer America? Other than being an obstruction party, obstructionist against common sense, do the Democrats have any other thing to run on? Other than hating America and lying and just being deranged about Trump, do Democrats have anything? Well, they imply Tom Homan is a racist for doing his job. And we're going to go into everything. Do the Democrats have anything to run on? Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Part of why I'm happy is because I want the Democrats gone. I don't want to take my boot off their neck until that whole party is just a thing, like the Whig Party, a thing of the past where we don't even think about them anymore. I want a new party. I want them gone. Welcome to Doug in Exile. Here's Tom Homan.
Position, not us. So it's the false media that's pushing the poll.
Is there a political question to that about?
You know, I'm not a politician, and I'm a border guy, and we're enforcing the laws. We're not making this up. ICE is enforcing laws enacted by Congress. I see all these people protesting ICE. Why aren't they protesting the Hill? If they don't like what ICE doing, protest the people who wrote the bill. I see members of Congress comparing us to racists and members to terrorist organizations. If we're terrorists for enforcing immigration law, what's that make them? They wrote the law.
I like this new tack. I had not thought of this argument before. That's why I'm bringing it up on this show. Tom Homan brings up a great truth, that they're implying that he's a racist for following the law. They're the ones that wrote the law, so the Democrats should go look in the mirror.
We're enforcing laws enacted by Congress, and we're going to do it with no apologies. We're going to do exactly what the President Trump has promised American people to do. The reason why President Trump was elected president, because people believe in a secure border, and people believe that we should remove public safety threats and national security threats from this country. And that's what we do every single day.
More allies, like interpreters, who helped our guys over there.
Look, every one of them will be vetted properly, which weren't vetted during the Biden administration. Decision be made by case basis. But let's remember, even the Department of Defense, OIG, came back and said they weren't vetted properly. Look at the thousands of criminal aliens we're arresting right now that last administration released in the country saying they're properly vetted. They lied to the American people. We don't have access to most countries' criminal data. Most countries don't have an NCIC like we do. When they said they were vetted, they were run through NCIC and Triple I's, state systems here. So unless they had a criminal history here, they said, okay, good to go. We've arrested thousands of criminals that have criminal histories in home country, wanted for murder in the home country. We're on a terrorist watch list and still released in this country. President Trump's doing the right thing for the American people every day. This country's safer every day because the men and women of ICE are doing the work they took an oath to enforce. I mean, no one can argue that sanctuary cities' crime rates are dropping because we're taking public safety threats off the street.
No one can argue that even in sanctuary cities, Tom Homan is doing such a great job. And Trump, what an amazing guy for picking this guy. Remember, our last border czar was Kamala Harris. Holy smokes. What was happening to America? Tom Homan is amazing. He just does his job. And by the way, a border czar has almost no power. All he's doing is implementing American law. He just is doing his job. He simply does a job. And Kamala Harris had the same job. And they were letting in hardened murderers from other countries that we knew were murderers and let them go. You had one job. Now, on the Democrats, so Democrats are running on, if you split the issues, 10, 90, or 20% to 80%, Democrats are taking on all of the issues that are sitting at about 20%. And then all they do is obstruct Trump. So here's John Thune on Trump needing his judge appointments brought through, and the Democrats are just obstructing us. Look at that man's beautiful tie. John Thune.
As you all know, we are spending a good amount of our time and energy here in the Senate on nominations these days. And we've seen an unprecedented level of obstruction and delay and blocking from Democrats. And as a consequence of that, we've had to kind of grind through, and that's what we're going to keep doing. If you look at just the historical precedent with regard to noms, we have never seen in history anything like what the Democrats are now doing. As of this date, back in 2021, Joe Biden had gotten 46 nominees confirmed either by voice vote or unanimous consent. Donald Trump has 0.
Okay, this is the new way that we're doing politics. John Thune is warning the Democrats, you do not want to start this precedent. This precedent of a new rule where you do 0 when you're out of power. The people overwhelmingly elected Republicans in power, these Democrats are still living off the fumes of past elections, 2020, and they think it's their job to keep a president from exercising his right of appointments. And they give consent. This is also, I believe, going to have to go to the Supreme Court to straighten out exactly what advising consent means on these judges, and that are they being obstructionist? That is Congress going in and acting in a way that the founders didn't intend? If the president is supposed to be able to pick his judges and make his appointments, and now they're locking up the government, is the Congress overstepping their boundaries? We need to legally decide that. But just remember, the Democrats, this goes back into what are they running on? What are they doing? This is Chuck Schumer, by the way, minority leader, Cory Booker, all these guys doing their job. We're going to get some lunatic Cory Booker quotes. More quotes from more people. Here's more on John Thune.
0, not a single one confirmed by voice or unanimous consent. And further, the Democrats are making it hard even on bipartisan nominees that sometimes will get 60 votes plus on the floor, one even up to 83 votes on the floor. So even the bipartisan noms are being blocked and delayed, so much so that the Democrats have been forcing me, when I file cloture just to get a nominee considered on the floor, to go in and out of executive and legislative session. So these are just dilatory tactics designed to block and obstruct the president and his agenda. And the sad reality is that there are a lot of these people who fill important positions in our government who need to be able to be confirmed to get there so they can do their jobs.
One of them is Emil Bove. We're going to do this over on Mike Davis. Look at this on Twitter. He says, "Dear Democrats and swampy Republicans, say it with us. U.S. Circuit Judge Emil Bove for life. Sincerely, Article 3 Project." They want him confirmed. Tell the Senate, confirm Emil Bove, a bold, fearless defender of the Constitution. The establishment hates Emil Bove because he tells the truth. The left fears him because he fights back. America needs judges like Emil Bove, principled, proven, and unshakable. So did they comply? This one is one of my favorite tweets. So this is just a few minutes later, a few hours later. Here's Mike Davis. Amen. Chuck Grassley is the hero. What did Chuck Grassley do? Again, judges, DOJ officials, taxes, trade, all the key issues. Grassley has quietly and steadily delivered more for President real Donald Trump than any other member of Congress. I'm going to get back to that in just a second. Both terms, Grassley is a workhorse, not a show horse. What did he do? Look at this. That's it. With 50 votes, the Third Circuit is guaranteed to have a new judge, Emil Bove. We got him. Remember, he's next. He could be next in line for the Supreme Court. Congratulations to him and to Chuck Grassley for navigating quite the Senate hearing and to President Trump. But most importantly, congratulations to the federal judiciary nomination of Emil Bove III of Pennsylvania to be United States Circuit Judge for the Third Circuit. Yay, 50, nay, 47. What's the big deal about this? I'm going to bring up Chuck Grassley because I've heard a lot of nonsense on Twitter and in some of my audience. It's popular for people to say that if you're too old, they need to have age restrictions on senators, that is age discrimination. That's nuts. And Chuck Grassley is one of our oldest guys in the Senate. I don't even believe in term limits, by the way. I know everyone says it, but there's nothing about, if you are doing a successful job, you ought to be voted back in that seat. Chuck Grassley is one of the guys. We will get punished by having guys like Chuck Grassley taken away. If you do term limits and if you do age restrictions, there is nothing about this man's age. Yes, he's old. Yes, he's been there forever. He's doing a great job. So it's unprincipled to prefer people of a certain race, let's say, or prefer people of a certain sex, or prefer people of a certain age. We don't do that in America. So this is I'm going to give you that. I know that's probably unpopular. I don't care. You're all wrong. I'm sorry. What a terrible thing to say. I can't believe I talked to some of you that way. You guys deserve respect. But I'm going back to the Democrats going nuts. They have nothing to run on. Here's a black Marine going against Texas. He's going against Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett, who's saying that it's Jim Crow and racist if they redistrict in Texas because Republicans are about to get a windfall in Texas with more seats going to us, better securing Texas, turning it farther away from purple to deeper red.
In the great state of Texas, as a Black American, Afghanistan veteran, a retired department head of the U.S. Department of Justice, I strongly support the Republican redistricting. I do not want, nor does the great state of Texas or this magnificent nation deserve to continue.
Did you hear those? Look at these liberal white Democrats booing a black man. To minorities in my audience, ethnic minorities, the Democrat Party has been playing you. They hate your guts. And this is a lifelong Republican. He is my people. This is my people, has never put an X next to a Democrat.
Gentlemen, will yield. The gentleman will be accorded the same respect that everyone testifying receives.
No, those Democrats don't want the same respect. They don't believe this is a two-tier justice system. They shout you down. You show your manners and you give them the microphone. And then when it's your turn at the microphone, they shut you down, they boo, and try and scream out your freedom of speech with their freedom of speech. So we act with manners and give them their voice, and then they scream over us.
We will come to order. Everyone, regardless of your belief, political persuasion, or age, or whoever you are an American and you're entitled to be heard, and you will be heard in this committee. The audience will come to order. The gentleman is recognized to continue his testimony.
I do not want the great state of Texas or this magnificent nation deserve to continue seeing systemic gang and street violence, a plummeting educational system, communities deteriorating, men and women's sports, etc., while Democrats sit quietly and fall to condemn or acknowledge the systemic moral decay, screaming systemic racism for anything that does not fit their narrative. These acts of evil must stop. We need Republican leadership for such a time as this. Republicans have a larger story. Echoing the words of the American icon, Mr. Frederick Douglass, you will not be judged by the heights you have risen, but from the depths you have climbed. I am a Republican, a black dyed-in-the-wool Republican, and I never intend to belong to any other party but the party of freedom and progress, Frederick Douglass.
My people.
We need and must have increased Republican leadership in the great state of Texas to remain great. As president of the Frederick Douglass Republicans of Tarrant County, I stand behind this statement. Semper Fi.
Semper Fi, always faithful. And listen to the crowd of white liberal Democrats who claim to be for, oh, we're here. You know, the black man, they've been silenced their whole life. And here they are screaming.
Thank you for your testimony.
Any questions for me?
Members, any questions for this witness?
Any questions?
And Mr. Chairman.
Yield. Hey, this is America.
This is, I like he has to repeat to the Democrats, hey, I know what you guys are thinking, but this is America. Here's more from what do the Democrats stand for? What do they got, people? Tell me in the chat below, what can they run on? Besides, I think Democrats just need therapy. No, they need pastoral counseling. They need to repent.
Charlie, I have to play this for you. This happened yesterday on the Senate floor. This is Senator Cory Booker as the Democratic Civil War. It's now well out in the open.
You gotta be kidding me. When will we stand and fight this president? Our president is eviscerating the Constitution of the United States of America. I see businesses taking late night talk show hosts off the air because they dare to insult a president. That is complicity with an authoritarian leader who is trashing our Constitution.
Screaming bug-eyed lunatic Cory Booker, Democrat, New Jersey senator. New Jersey, you guys look really bad. You guys put this guy in. Look at him. He's unhinged.
So is it good for anybody on the Democratic side except for Cory Booker?
Nope.
Okay.
It's time for Democrats to have a backbone. It's time for us to fight. It's time for us to draw lines.
You have Booker who keeps giving angry speeches, right? He doesn't do anything. He doesn't offer anything. He just screams fight. So he's the hysteria caucus right now.
I'm laughing.
Yeah, it's good to
He was
laugh
a
at
little
them.
unhinged yesterday.
Yeah, he was. And what's really amazing is that's a bill that came out of the Judiciary Committee unanimously. And you know who sits on the Judiciary Committee?
I do.
Cory Booker. So he's falling apart over a bill that he did not object to in committee, which is kind of how the process works, Spartacus.
How crazy is Cory Booker? He's screaming at himself, at his own bill. That's how bad Democrats are. They're freaking out over themselves. What are they going to run on, guys? Do they have anything?
Look, we spent a lot of time talking about the problems in the Democrat Party, and they're pretty obvious. I think they're much worse than we even realize.
Oh, Lord. Thank you. I am so grateful in my heart. There's a lot of troubles in America, but among the good things in America, good news, and I'm thankful to God for all good news. And it is good news when a leftist, Marxist, frankly satanic worldview that is communist, it is a morally evil system, is losing power in America. He's going, Democrats have nothing. And that makes me happy. If you're not smiling right now, then, maybe let's count our blessings every once in a while and not just complain all the time, because this is good news.
And I think that this kind, he's obviously trying to posture himself as being sort of the loudest, most, ardent opponent of Donald Trump. And he
Most unhinged.
doesn't think any of his colleagues are doing a good enough job at it. And so he wants to fill that void but it becomes kind of ridiculous. And then what you wind up doing is attacking your colleagues, which he spent much of that time on the floor attacking his own Democrat colleagues. And it's going to get uglier before they find their way.
Yes. That's a huge victory. It's going to get uglier. They're going to get more unhinged and lunatics screaming and attacking each other before this whole thing is over. Here's a last piece on what are the Democrats going to run on.
The party finds itself in poll after poll as having the lowest approval rating of all time.
Yeah.
And you could say, well, they took unpopular position on immigration. You could say Joe Biden did some things that made him unpopular. But I believe it's more profound than that. And I believe it has a lot to do with Donald Trump's mastery. Doesn't win every time. They beat him in 20. They beat him in many other elections. But I believe that Donald Trump has contributed mightily to the decline of the Democratic Party. So I'll ask you with only
Trump contributed to the decline of the Democrat Party. Their lunacy against, that is, make America great again, has been the big influence on what made the Democrat Party fall apart. Trump destroyed the most evil party, anti-unborn life, anti-traditional family structures, mothers, fathers, children, what we will educate with on facts. They're anti-fact lunatics. Trump, the bull in the china shop, destroyed them. I'm so thankful. My heart is so warm.
He's slightly prejudicing the jury. Why do you think the Democratic Party is facing such brand crisis?
So there would be issues in the mix. If I were giving you the laundry list, and on my list would be the economy, on my list would be immigration, on my list.
Let me stop you on the economy. Do you mean specifically Joe Biden's record on inflation, or do you mean the party is not identified with positive economic ideas, or both?
Both. Okay. I think primarily it's Biden and the economy and the abandonment of a constituency that used to be Democratic largely because of economic issues. I'm thinking
now. I'm going to hit back a little bit on this one, because I think people feel uncomfortable with social issues and moral issues. They're afraid to back them up. So then they go to fiscal issues, because it's less moral to say, we're for the fiscal issues. We won't take a stand against same-sex marriage. We won't take a stand against abortion. We won't take a stand against, hey, we should all just tolerate the trans, the biological male in the female bathroom. Much easier. And this is what libertarians do. They're all, I'm just fiscally conservative. I'm not morally conservative at all. I believe it's the moral issues that cause the Democrats to lose. I know Biden did screw up with inflation. People did start feeling it in their pocketbooks. But what really terrified the voting public, I think, and caused many Democrats that were leaning toward the center to go full Republican, I don't believe it was inflation. I think they saw that trans issue, by the way, which only affects a tiny percentage of the population, right? It's a tiny percentage that are trans, a biological male that goes into a female bathroom. It's a tiny percentage of people. But the marketing of that went everywhere. And I think it was that marketing that started making people realize Democrats, there's something wrong with them. That bug-eyed lunatic, Cory Booker, there is something wrong with that guy. That's what I think actually did it. We're not good yet. We're just the best. I'm Doug in Exile. Subscribe.